Chair recognizes Bill Murphy, representing himself in support of the bill. Welcome.
Thank you, Chair and committee members. My name is Bill Murphy. I live in Manchester, New Hampshire. Just to give a little background, I moved from Massachusetts back in 1986. I had ridden motorcycles up to that point. My first 10 years living in New Hampshire, I was raising two boys, so I wasn't riding at the time. About 10 years in, I bought a motorcycle again and started riding. And it seemed at that point I was looked at differently because of being on a motorcycle, wearing leather and so on. So there's been cases of myself being pulled over, but I'd like to cite two examples that seem to be the most egregious to me. Just to put this in context, because curiously enough, this context applies to both examples. I'm a longtime boxing trainer. For over 30 years, I've been training boxers, and the last 22 years, I was a volunteer trainer at National Police Athletic League boxing gym. My wife and I recently, a few years ago, moved to Manchester. We bought a condominium. So I looked for a gym locally, and I knew of the Manchester Police Athletic League gym. So I went there and spoke to the head trainer, who welcomed me in, said I'd be a perfect fit. We both knew each other from boxing circles. They have a strict application process, so he said you'd have to fill out an application, which I did, and submitted that. Only to then, and I have copies of the return letter from the executive director of the Manchester PAL, and I'll just read the reply from him. He says, "Hello, Bill. I had the opportunity to speak with both the past and present MPAL coordinators, Manchester PAL. The Manchester Police Department officers assigned to the MPAL full-time. While we certainly appreciate your training experience and willingness to provide character references, membership in a motorcycle club that could be perceived as supportive of other clubs with known or assumed connections to criminal activity remains a concern that prevents us from welcoming you as a trainer at MPAL. Our volunteers' activities in and out of the gym reflect on both MPAL and the MPD, and even the perception of affiliation with an organization that do not share our values must be considered in our selection process." And then he wished me luck in finding a gym to again volunteer at. So that's just a case of being a motorcyclist and obviously being a member of a motorcycle club, where that alone was enough, regardless of my experience and the value that I could add. Working with kids in an underprivileged area was enough to decline my application. The other example is in 2019, I was leaving Nashua PAL boxing gym. I was on my motorcycle, I was wearing this vest, and as I turned off of Ash Street onto West Hollis Street, I was pulled over. It turns out it was the Nashua Gang Task Force. So the officer up front acknowledged that he had no reason to pull me over. He said, "I just want to ask you some questions." So I respectfully asked if I could then leave, given that there was no reason to pull me over. And he insisted that I stay. So we went on to ask a few questions, and I don't need to go in, I don't think I need to characterize his questions, but there were some insinuations about my membership in a motorcycle club. When I continued to respectfully decline to answer, he then finally said, "Okay, you can be on your way." So that stop took probably about 15, 20 minutes or so. And again, it was the National Gang Task Force who acknowledged up front, we had no reason to pull you over. We just wanted to ask questions, and then let me go. So those are the two most egregious examples I can come up with. There are others, but I have copies of the letter, the email response from MPAL, Manchester Police Athletic League. I can hand those out to you folks. So if you have any questions.
Thank you very much, and certainly please hand those forward. Any questions from the committee? Seeing none, thank you very much. A little change in my plans here. I know the speaker is busy. Chair recognizes Representative Packard speaking in favor of the bill.